Hello, everybody, and welcome to the final block here of the Winter Spectacular. I'm Tom Vassell, and we're glad you're here. So a couple things. First of all, we were going to play Stupefy during this block, but due to time constraints, we're cutting that. But don't worry, we're going to play Stupefy in January at when we do our end of our Kickstarter, shebang going on there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to watch 4 top 10 lists, and then we're going to combine on to say goodbye, and then we'll together watch the bloopers of the Dice Tower, which I still have not seen yet. I'm going to see it here for the first time with you all. Thank you, everybody, for watching all this, though. We've had a fantastic time. I hope you've enjoyed it. But here's 4 top 10 lists starting now. Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell, and today, or right now, I'm talking about my favorite reprints slash sequels slash, well, mostly like reprints or redone versions of games from 2022. This is actually a pretty neat category. Every year, this is a category that is not a category I struggle to find 10 games for. Because honestly, so many games get reprinted, redone, new versions, deluxe versions, so there's a lot of cool games. Let's get started. Number 10 is the Port Royal Big Box, which thankfully, their size of big box is the size of a Carcassonne box. But Port Royal initially came out in a very small box, very simple push your luck style game. Really enjoy this game. And then having an expansions in a nicely, easily separatable sections in the box, make it a lot of fun to play. I can add the expansion in, not add the expansion in. It's just simple, it's fast. Port Royal's already a fun game. This lets me mix and match a couple expansions without causing me too much stress. My number 9 is Key to the Kingdom. Key to the Kingdom is from Restoration Games, who is on this list every year because that's what they do. This is a kid's game, essentially, and the Key to the Kingdom was okay. Very lucky fantasy game. It's still very lucky, but now they redid it. First of all, the production's great. Secondly, Rob Daviau, who's in charge of this, has all these different weapons and things that you can have. There are these different cards, and you can flip these cards face down to utilize them to manipulate your die rolls. There's still luck in the game, but there's a lot more mitigation. It's a fun storytelling game. It's still a kid's family game more than anything else. It just is a very nicely done one. Number 8 is Dungeon Fighter. Dungeon Fighter is a silly game where you're rolling dice and bouncing them off a table onto a target, trying to kill the monsters, the creatures there. Lots of fun. And this deluxe version includes all the expansions, all kinds of neat dice, and sometimes I don't want the kitchen sink involved in the game, but with Dungeon Fighter, I don't mind that stuff being added. Really fun game, and now all that silliness is in one box for me. Number 7 is Basket Boss. Basket Boss, originally published by Quality Games, a game about managing a basketball team. I liked it a lot, and Board Game Tables reprinted it in a nice, small, compact version, but also with just very cool components. They upgraded they added some roles to the game that weren't in the original one. It plays very smoothly. It's still the same basic game, but it's a nice done, small, good production. And if you get the Board Game Tables upgraded components, even nicer than that. Number 6 is Marvel Remix. This is a redone version of Fantasy Realms. Now, oddly enough, they did a Star Trek Realms, or whatever it was called, this past year, which is just awful, terrible. I disliked it a lot. But Marvel Remix is a good redone version of Fantasy Realms where you're getting a handful of 7 cards, you play them down, and this one has a villain that you need one villain, but the way the cards work and the way they mix with the Marvel Universe, I was just very, very impressed with the whole thing. Number 5 is the Dice Throne things. There's 2 of them, actually. There's the Marvel Dice Throne stuff, which was amazing. It blew my mind that Dice Throne, a great game where you have a gunslinger up against a paladin, up against a vampire, up against, whatever else. Now you can have Spider-Man in the mix up against Thor, and it works really well. It's a lot of fun with the Marvel stuff. But they also added, just before the end of this year, Santa and Krampus in the mix. So now I can have Krampus going up against Doctor Strange, or I can have Santa Claus fighting his arch enemy, Loki. Those are fun matchups. Actually, Loki versus Krampus. But anyway, a lot of fun, really good art, just great all around. Number 4 is the Castles of Mad King Ludwig. This deluxe version, I was very nervous about this one because Suburbia, which is an amazing game, a better game than Castle of Mad King Ludwig, their deluxe version is so difficult. When I pull it out, I'm like, I got to figure out where all the pieces are just to play the game. Castle Mad King Ludwig, I'm like, pop, 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 pop. We're ready to play. That's amazing. The rule book's well done. It's nicer stuff, upgraded stuff, but it's also really easy to pull out. Castle Mad King Ludwig is a game I enjoy, and its deluxe version is even better. Number 3 is Clank Catacombs. So I actually debated on this one, putting it in my best games of the year, because I just think it wasn't different enough from Clank to legally distinct in my mind, but it doesn't matter. I'll never play Clank again, honestly, probably, because Clank Catacombs is so much better as you are exploring the dungeon. It's the same game as Clank, but you are now exploring a dungeon, building it out of tiles. It's so much more fun. It's compatible with some of the stuff that you can mix with Clank. I think it's the way we're going to see Clank done in the future. Really, really entertaining game, but that adding exploration to this deck building game really put it over the top for me. Number 2, back to restoration games, is Return to Dark Tower. Return to Dark Tower, now I've seen the old game, I never actually played it, I've seen how it works. The new one, they spent years on it. This new beast of a tower, which is this high, and that is not an exaggeration, off the table. Great components, cool miniatures, and you're going around, and it is a cooperative game. It works with an app, and the app works with the tower, and the tower is dropping skulls on the board and spinning around, and the whole experience is neat. But taking that experience out of it, the spinning tower, the dropping skulls, the app, it's still a really solid game. And it has so many different, you pick a bad guy, you get to pick all the parameters of it, so you can make it as quote-unquote easy. It's never really that easy, but it's never really that hard either. It's a game you can win. It offers so many cool choices. Very, very neat. And my number 1 reprint from this year was a really easy choice for me, and that's Massive Darkness 2nd Edition. Massive Darkness 1st Edition, which I never played a full game of, just played a little bit of a demo and everything. I thought, it's kind of a spin on Zombicide. It's fine. Massive Darkness 2 is one of my favorite games ever. It is my favorite dungeon crawl ever. It is so well done. Each of the different classes has their own very distinctive way that they play. So if you're playing the wizard, you have these cards. If you're playing the rogue, you're doing a little bag pulling game. If you're playing the ranger, you're doing push your luck. If you're playing necromancer, you're raising stuff. And they feel so different. And yet it's also kind of kick the door in, fight the monsters, get loot. It's really entertaining. It's easy to plug and play. It's just so much fun. So much fun. What a great game. I'm so glad I have it. That's Massive Darkness 2, my favorite reprint of last year. And that's it, folks. Those are my favorite reprints from 2022. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel, and this is the Dice Tower.
Hello and welcome to the Dice Tower. I am Camilla Cleghorn, and today I want to take you through the top 10 miniatures of 2022. So this is kind of a confusing topic, so I want to take a minute here and kind of explain what I meant by it and what I was going for with this. These are not going to be specific miniatures in general. It's not going to be like, I like this miniature from this game. It's more the game in general, and kind of sometimes it's really the unique miniature. Maybe it's a unique take on the miniatures. Maybe it's just a really cool sculpt. Maybe I think they did something kind of gimmicky that worked with it. So it's just kind of games in general with good miniatures, but also not necessarily miniatures games. These are still going to be board games. So just something about the miniatures really stood out to me that I think kind of grabbed my attention and made me take a closer look at the game because of the miniatures. All right, so with that, let's jump right in. And at number 10, leading off our list here, we have Wonderland's War. Now, Wonderland's War is set in the Alice in Wonderland book series. It is set in Wonderland, in which the war is happening for the different with the different factions, and you each play as one of the characters of that, trying to vie for control and such. The miniatures in this game are fabulously whimsical and chunky. I think that it does a really good job of maintaining that balance between whimsical, but also just real enough that you're like, but that feels okay, and it feels like a dream more than anything. You know, Alice falls down the rabbit hole and kind of struggles with this. Is this real or is that not? And that's what these miniatures really sell. You see that come to fruition in these miniatures. There's enough basing in the real world aspects that you're familiar with, that it feels comfortable, but it maintains that whimsical, dreamlike state that just kind of pushes those boundaries. These are absolutely just a delight to hold, to look at, and to see them on the board. It really complements the gameplay of this, and the sculpts individually feel unique. And I think that's what sets this one apart here at number 10, Wonderland's War. And at number 9, we have Sons of Feyriel. Now, Sons of Feyriel is an interesting theme as well, where you are guardians of the environment, if you will. And as you go through, you're going to collect, or you're going to gain different guardians that you'll play with and kind of amass here. And each time you get one, they put on a mask to represent different tribes. And so they have these tribe masks. And I think that that is really unique, that it gives them these attributes. And of course, it's kind of gimmicky, but it's a gimmick that works. We've seen these tribe masks, with different African tribes and that kind of stuff. So it has that, well, again, that kind of real world connection, but it really elevates it in selling this idea of environmental preservation, I think, because you can almost see them made of wood. You look at it and you know exactly what it's going for, and they really nailed it, looking like what they wanted to be, a tribe mask. And to see that on your miniatures in the game, giving that personality to the heroes, is really, really interesting and really unique. And for that, it's my number 9, Sons of Feyriel. And at number 8, we have Endless Winter. I think these Endless Winter sculpts are absolutely chunky and cute, but they do a really good job of selling the harsh environment. This game does have the Micho's artwork, which I am a fan of. I know some people aren't, but I think that when you look at these sculpts, you immediately can see those roots with the Micho. So it fits the world that has been created, and it walks that line again. Once again, I talked about this with Wonderland's War, how it walks that fantasy versus real line. This does the same, but it's a different line. The line it's pushing here is that cute and harsh. So it's chunky and it's cute and it's delightful and it's just so squishy, but yet you can see those roots there of that hard life, that they've gone through some hard winters, that they've struggled with their hunts, and they just kind of have that harsh feel as well. And I think that it just plays that line of it doesn't go gruesome at all. It maintains that cute, that lighthearted feel, but also doesn't sacrifice the difficulties that this Paleo-American era, the people went through. So I really like that line, again, that it balances, and I think that comes together very, very well in the miniatures. So sitting at my number 8 is Endless Winter. And at number 7, we have a big game. And by big game, I don't mean complicated. By big game, I don't mean a whole lot of depth. By big game, I mean a literal big game in front of you. This is going to be Foundations of Rome. Foundations of Rome is also very different miniatures. We've been talking about different characters and heroes. In Foundations of Rome, they are buildings and actual architectural developments that you're going to put out. Each player has a whole board of these different buildings, and what I find fascinating about these is every building is different, is unique. I don't know how many, I'm going to say maybe 15 to 20 buildings per player that you have out, and every single one of those buildings is different and represents, if you look at the details, it represents what that building is for. If it's a civic building, maybe it's going to have the big pillars. If it's a bathhouse, you're going to see those roots in it. You're going to see the different walkways through. So all the different sculpts are different, and you really, as you pick it up and you look at it, you feel like you are putting together this big city with these different buildings out on the board. It's gorgeous to see done, and to see it really come together. The personality of these individual buildings represented in the individual sculpts. You can tell the time went in to make it match, to bring this theme to life, and it really sells it. So number 7 is Foundations of Rome. And at number 6, we have Massive Darkness 2, Hellscape. Now, when you think about this, if you look at it, it's easy to kind of write it off immediately as like, oh, it's another fantasy, generic fantasy. But really, I love these miniatures. I think what these miniatures do for that very crowded fantasy space is bring in the different textures and creativity behind the monsters. Each one feels very different. Each one, you have some that are going to have those massive angelic wings, and you feel like you're going more in that realm. And then the next one is going to be really nasty and and just gross, with your, I laugh, but I love it, of course, right? But you have the really gross ones, with the open sores and things like that. But then you have kind of the playful ones, with the big fuzzy characters that they kind of have a stuffy look to them or a stuffed animal look to them. But they're also kind of really mean looking. And so it's just a really good marriage and pushing the boundaries on this fantasy that we're very familiar with. But it's pushing those boundaries and exploring the different edges of it. I feel like we have fantasy and it's really kind of pushing the envelope and exploring those edges of that into a couple different atmospheres, a couple different themes as well. And this is really well implemented with the miniatures, but they all still work and all still look like they go together. Sometimes there's a good congruency between them at the same time. So you can tell they go together. It elevates this theme and brings it up rather than segregating it as it pushes in a couple different directions. So I really enjoyed the miniatures from Massive Darkness to Hellscape. And for that, it's my number 6. And at number 5, we have transmissions. Now, transmissions would possibly be much higher on this list, even vying for that number 1 spot if there was more of them. In this one, you're just going to have the 4 miniatures. And I think that's enough. There's not really need for more of them, but it does come down to just the 4 miniatures. And because of that, I didn't give it as much weight as some of the others. But that is not a slight on the miniatures at all. These miniatures are fantastic. They are absolutely gorgeous. You can see Matt Dixon, who is the artist of the game. You can see it come to life. It's like looking at a drawing of his and just watching it come into the 4D space or 3D space, I guess. And I love that. They are really, you see the different textures behind the robots. You see they're kind of dinged and dented, and it has kind of that scrapyard feel to them. So they maintain that chunkiness of a robot that's just been put together, but also kind of that little delicacy where it's like, ooh, you're put together with super glue maybe and a couple little rusty bolts. And that translates so well into this. When you see them on the board, again, it's like looking at a Matt Dixon piece of artwork and just seeing it come into 3D. And that is just such a neat experience. I've not played this game at all or brought this game out with someone at least taking 3 to 5 minutes just to look at the miniatures and then take and compare it to the art and talk about it. And it just really, really feels like you're playing in a piece of art. And so I think the miniatures really, I keep saying elevate, but that's because it does, right? It takes number 2 and brings it up. So it's literally elevates the game. My number 5, transmissions. And at number 4, we have Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. Oathsworn is a big campaign game that's going to bring in a lot of different baddies, a lot of surprise baddies, as well as a lot of variability in the heroes. So again, we're talking about kind of a fantasy world here. This one is a little bit more grounded. It's not quite as fantastical as Massive Darkness. It is a little bit more grounded in you are heroes and you're going out into the world fighting these big bad monsters as they come. Set in the olden times, kind of the medieval times. What really brings these miniatures to the higher in the listing here is, I think, the customization of them. So these miniatures do have this HIP technology, or HIPS, I'm sorry, HIPS, HIPS technology, where you can kind of build your character. So if you want them to have 2 swords, or if you want them to have a sword and a I don't know, whatever, a rope in the other, or maybe they have 2 daggers or anything like that, but you can really customize it, which I think makes it really unique. It kind of gives you that D&D or RPG kind of feel to it in your miniatures, and it works really well. I think some people had trouble with this and maybe wanted to glue their miniatures together, and I think that's perfectly valid, but even if that's the route you take, you still have that customization behind it, and that's really interesting. As well as, let's change gears here and talk about the baddies for a minute. The baddies feel very different. Some of them are very big. Some of them are very small and just, get in the way. And they all have individual personality, which is also represented in that sculpt. I feel like every single one I get it, and it's just like instantly my brain is just firing about all the different ways I could paint it, all the different artistic techniques that I could try, or just all the different personality that comes through in these miniatures. You really do see into that soul, that personality of the baddie when you see the sculpt, and it really just sells that. And I think it elevates this game a lot. So my number 4 is Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. At number 3, we're going to be taking a look at Lobotomy 2, Manhunt. Now, Lobotomy 2 is set in a mental institution, and you are one of the patients there, and you're trying to escape. You've done it before, you're trying to do it again. And it really has this unique dynamic where you're not sure if it's really happening or if it's just happening in your mind. But either way, you're playing it out the same as if it's happening in real. And because of that boundary of not sure if it's real or fake, it's selling that in the miniatures as well, and really allowing it to open that up to some little bit of fantasy as well. So you have some orderlies that come through that have tentacles for arms, and things that are just, you have some hellhounds, things that just kind of push that boundary again between real world and happening in your mind, that stuff of nightmares. That's shown in these miniatures where they look very different. Some are very scary, some are different, some are just a little distorted, and really it throws off the balance of some of them. So it's not quite what you expect from all of them, and just some of them will just leave you a little bit uncomfortable. And I think that's really neat. It kind of has that nightmare brought to life idea behind it, and that the miniatures really showcase that. It really kind of makes you just keep looking at it, trying to make sense of what you're seeing and what you're feeling. And I really think the miniatures showcase that really, really well. They match the artwork really well, which on that note, there's multiple artists involved. So if you have some of your favorite artists, you can pick up their series, which I think was fantastic. One of the ones that I really liked is Jazza. I follow him, and to see his kind of ideas come to life here and his artwork in the miniatures was just a really exciting moment for me. So having those multiple artists work on these projects and kind of seeing where their mind goes and where their nightmares kind of go was just absolutely a blast. So number 3 is Lobotomy 2, Manhunt. And at our number 2 slot here, we have Burn Cycle. Burn Cycle is quite possibly the most unique miniatures that I've talked in this whole list. For no other reason than they are these brass mags. So they are actually made of brass, and they're metal, and they're heavy, and they're hefty, and they're unique, and they're amazing. I love them. They are not required. They are an upgrade. So they're a deluxe component that you can get for Burn Cycle. But they really do just bring a whole new realism to this game. So in Burn Cycle, you are playing as robots who are trying to fight against the humans who have integrated AI technology and are kind of evil at this point. So you're the robots going in and trying to infiltrate the humans. So a little bit of twist on theme there. And I think the individual robots and the individual sculpts of this are very well done. And once again, pulling the personality, pulling the different traits that they have. They have really unique poses. They feel different on the board. Looking at the board, I think was a really smart idea with these miniatures as well, that they have a couple different shades to them. So you might have your goodies that you're playing. The good ones are one color, and then the bad ones that are patrolling the hall are one's silver, one's brass, kind of looking something like that. So visually, it's really well done as well. And what I love about these miniatures is you look at them, and you're not just seeing gray plastic. It's not just like, oh, those are really cool miniatures. I wonder if I should get them painted. I really don't know why you would need to paint these, unless you want to, if you just enjoy that and you enjoy painting metal. But I have this set. I'm a painter, and I have no interest in painting it. I really think that they are so unique in what they do, and they fit this theme so well that there's no need to. And that's just really unique. I think for games with miniatures, that's unique, as well as they're really well done. They feel great. They look great. They put you in this theme. Very, very, very little I could ask more for. So my number 2, I think some of the most unique miniatures, arguably the most unique miniatures of 2002, was from Burn Cycle. All that to be said, we do still have a number 1, and at number 1, beating out everything else for the miniatures this year, is Townsfolk Tussle. Townsfolk Tussle is set in a very unique world, in a very unique art style. It has kind of that feeling, that Steamboat Willie, the old school Disney look to it, but it's brought to life. And I think these miniatures, I've talked before about how you see the artwork and it feels like it brings you to life. You see the artwork and you're familiar with it, but this puts you in that world. It's like opening up a comic book and just like head diving in. That's what this feels like when you look at these miniatures. They're very, very unique, very comic book style, and they and they really push the boundary of that uncomfortable without being gross. You know, we talked about Lobotomy 2, Manhunt, where it pushes that uncomfortable and it kind of gets into the nightmares. This is not that. This is pushing that boundary of you really do feel like you've stepped into the comic book and it just became real. And you're like, oh, wait, if you get hit by a hammer, it might actually hurt, you know, kind of feeling to it. I think that these miniatures really capture that. They maintain that comic book, that feel to it by pushing kind of the way. There's some where you're like, anatomically, that should not be able to happen. You should not be able to stand up on legs that thin. But they do. The miniatures work. They're not falling over. And so you really have that feel of this isn't quite right, but somehow it's still working. There's a lot of uniqueness to them. They're pushing those boundaries of uncomfortable without being gross, and that real versus comic book boundaries as well. So this one is really just kind of stretching, once again, what you're comfortable with, but also looking really cool. You just can't quit looking at them. You know, it's those comic books that you read over and over and over again. This is the same. It's those miniatures that you want to look at over and over and over again and just kind of take it in layer by layer. So number one for the really, really great miniatures, really great implementation of the artwork in the miniatures and the miniatures into the game is going to be Townsfolk Tussle. And that's going to be it for the top 10 miniatures of 2022. Again, not specific miniatures, but just a game in general, which I think the miniatures really added to the experience or did something very unique. So these were my top 10 of the year. What are yours? What did I miss? What should I check out? What have you enjoyed painting this year? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, I'm Camilla Cleghorn. Take care.
Hi, I'm Wendy Yee, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 puzzle games. Now, when I say puzzle, I don't necessarily mean like a jigsaw puzzle where you're pushing pieces together, but instead I mean like mechanisms that are really interesting that you have to figure out and you have to kind of work your way through to discover it. Some of those are spatial with cool polyominoes and pieces that you're placing on locations, and other ones are just mechanisms that, you know, you're trying to get from point A to point C and you're trying to figure out how to get there. And so let's go ahead and begin. My number 10 is Wormholes. This is a cool spacey game with that theme of teleporting from one side of the map to another. So as you're exploring out, you're dropping these little wormholes and you have to decide, where am I going to drop the first one? Like, where do I want to come back to? But then also, where do I want to expand out to that I will actually use that again in the future? And so you're trying to hop along through this map as you expand out and across. And so there's just a lot of fun decisions going on there. There's some cool interaction. And so I just really enjoy that puzzle of where am I going to put these so that I can hop where I need to hop very easily and quickly. So that's my number 10, Wormholes. My number 9 is Two Heirs. It kind of looks like a Carcassonne game because you're laying out tiles. But what's interesting is that the tiles that I own face me, the tiles that you own face you, but we're making a map together. And there's some interesting interaction and puzzle behind choosing which tiles we're going to get. So there's this interesting, almost like patchwork rondelle of choosing these tiles. And the way that you pay for them is all dependent on how many troops you keep in the rondelle area versus when you put them on the map. They can work for resources, both locations, but they also allow you extra movement. Like, there's just some really interesting puzzle and decision between where am I going to put the tiles spatially, but also where am I going to put my troops? How am I going to lay them on the map and move them on the map so that I can expand out? How am I going to place these tiles for specific scoring abilities, and where do I need them? So there's just a lot of fun stuff going on. I really enjoy the puzzle. I think that it's tons of fun. So that's my number 9, Two Heirs. My number 8 is Marvel Remix. This is a handcrafting game where you're essentially like drawing cards and picking up cards, and you're trying to make your set of hand the perfect superhero story. So you want to have a hero, you want to have an ally, you want to have a villain, but then all the rest of the cards in your hands can be kind of any of those things. They can be items, they can be stuff, and all the cards interact with each other. It's very Fantasy Realms like, how one card will score other cards in your hand, and hopefully they will mutually score previous cards that we scored before. And so there's just such an interesting interaction. You may have Captain America who wants lots of heroes and he wants his shield, and if you can get all that, you can get lots of points. But you might have a villain in your hand that hates heroes, and so you're losing points for heroes, and you have to make choices of what you're going to keep, what are you going to get rid of. So Marvel Remix, fun, easy, simple card game, but has really good puzzle to it as you're crafting that hand. So that's my number 8. My number 7 is Catherine, Cities of the Tsarina. And what I really enjoy about this is the card play. So you are playing cards at the top of your player area for their actions, but their actions don't trigger off until you play a card of the matching color underneath them. So each round you're going to play a couple to your top of your tableau area, and you're going to play a couple to the bottom. But there's going to be actions that you don't use that are just kind of there for future rounds and you're prepping. But then there's definitely those cards at the bottom that are essentially just getting discarded. And so you have to make those choices because every card is good. Every card does a wonderful thing. And so you have to think like, what strategies am I leaning into? Do I want to gain more cities on the map? Do I want to move up the crown track? Do I want to just get straight up good solid victory points? Do I want to discard cards? Do I want big hand, little hand? There's a lot of different choices and a lot of different stuff. And so puzzling out where you put those cards, when you play them, how you play them, I think that it's a fun puzzle, even though there's not like tactile dexterity or any of that spatial stuff going on. So I think it's tons of fun. So Catherine is my number 7. My number 6 is My Shelfie. This has a really cool spatial element. So the tiles that you are picking and trying to put in this nice little, it almost looks like a Connect 4 grid, but you're building up a little Calyx shelf. And the way that you collect those tiles is very spatially oriented. They have to be available, so they have to have sides free so that you can actually like pick them up and collect them. And you can only collect 1 through 3 a turn. But then also you're building that nice little shelf. And there's rules about like you have to only build up 1 column and they have to, gravity is affected, so they have to build upwards. And so it's really interesting because there's different objectives that you're racing towards, because if you're the first one to complete them, you get more points. But also you're trying to be the first one to fill up your entire shelf. You're trying to make connections of similar colors grouped together. So there's just a lot of puzzly, very spatial elements going on that I think is a lot of fun. So My Shelfie, great game, good puzzle. That's my number 6. My number 5 is Foundations of Rome. This is an interesting game that reminds me a lot of New York 1901, which is just a longtime favorite of mine. And so you're basically collecting plots of land, and as you collect them, you can then build buildings on them. The more land that you have all pieced together, the bigger the buildings that you can get, usually worth more points. But also the buildings have such interesting interaction because you may build a building that gives you money or may give you points based on all the buildings around it, including other people's. And so there's a lot of fun, positive interaction going on. There's also a little bit of trying to steal spaces that you think people want so they can't build like giant coliseums and stuff. So there's a lot of fun puzzle in the way that it scores, in the way that you place out your buildings, and in the way you interact. So I love it. There's a lot of good stuff there in Foundations of Rome. So that is my number 5. My number 4 is Rise. And this is a game that is tracks on tracks on tracks. So as you move on tracks, sometimes they have you move on other tracks. Sometimes you get to progress more and you get more income and you get more discounts. And then sometimes you are destroying the environment or you're making your people, your citizens very unhappy, and they start, losing points and you start not being able to do as many actions because you're hurting yourself, you're hurting the environment. So it's just very interesting the way that they all interact. It's a fun puzzle, and the action selection is really cool. As you are choosing what actions you want, there are a bunch of cards laid out, but between each action is a little event card. And so if you want to pay very little money and take actions that are very close to the front, you don't get all of those advanced events. That could be great movement on tracks, but also could be negative movement on tracks. Or you could progress down, you could pay lots of extra money to do those higher up actions that may be the ones that you want, and get those cool events or those terrible events. So there's such a fun puzzle of making those choices on those cards, of choosing what tracks you're going to invest in. Are you going to do some engine building at the beginning, or are you going to move up on other tracks that give you a lot of extra other track bonuses? And so it's good choices, good puzzle, lots going on. So that is Rise. That's my number 4. My number 3 is Next Station London. There's so many good roll and writes, and so I just had to pick one. This is the one I picked because they're all great puzzles. I really enjoy the idea of having simultaneous or like similar card play that flips over and then people make decisions and you just see how those decisions change. And so Next Station London, everyone starts in a different location because everyone has a different colored pencil that they begin with on their map. And throughout the course of the game, you're going to swap those colored pencils and you're going to start different colored routes. Those routes can interconnect in certain ways, but then other ways they can't cross. And so you have all this kind of puzzly rules that you're trying to figure out, how do I get around and build all of my subway stations really neatly and nicely without trapping myself in corners. And I want to expand, but I also want to localize. Like, there's just a lot of decisions. And so I really enjoy Next Station London. That's my number 3. My number 2 is Monolith. This is the most polyomino puzzly game that I have on this list. And what's really cool is everyone's building this monolith in front of you. So essentially this like brick of blocks made out of all these different polyomino shaped pieces. But what's cool about it is that each side has a particular color that you're trying to score. So you're trying to get those colors to show on those sides. So it's a very like 3D aspect to this game. And so as you look like at my back face, I may want to have oranges. So throughout the game, I'm going to bid how many oranges I think I'm going to be able to have showing there by the end of the game when I finish my monolith. Whereas I also bid a different number for my dark blue or my light blue. And so there's a lot of really cool choices. Everybody can kind of look at each other's 3D model and kind of fight against for those particular colors. So there's a lot of fun. You've got the physical puzzle as well as that kind of betting puzzle going on of kind of guessing what you're going to be able to finish and complete in the future. And there's a fun rondelle that adds a little bit of interaction as well. So that is my number 2, Monolith. My number 1 is Acropolis, and this is so much fun. The puzzle is that you are building a city wide as well as tall. So there's ways to add multipliers. Every color of tile scores a little bit differently. You've got some that want to be grouped together, some that want to be on the outside of your city, some that want to be completely surrounded by other tiles. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. As you build up, it adds extra multipliers. As you build wide, it just adds more surface area and more tiles that you can visually see and therefore will score. Really enjoy the puzzle, and I love how quick and simple it is. So Acropolis is my number 1. Thanks for joining me for my top 10 puzzly games of 2022. I had a blast playing them all. I hope that you do as well, and I hope you enjoy your Winter Spectacular. I'm Wendy Yee. Have a fabulous day.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell. Welcome to our videos where we're going through the best of 2022. Now, if you've watched already today, we posted our top 10 games of the year, my favorite games. And that's never enough for me. So many amazing games come out every year. So every year I also do my number 11 through 20, 10 more great games. And that's what these are. These are 10 games that honestly, if my top 10 were all obliterated from the earth, and these were my top 10, I would be very, very satisfied. So here we go. We're going to go from 20 to 11. Number 20 is Trekking Through History. Now, I have unfortunately never played any of the trekking games, Trekking the National Parks, Trekking the World, but I did play Trekking Through History, and wow, was I surprised. First of all, I love the theme. I love this idea of going through history. The artwork and everything is great, but the concept of taking a card, collecting the resource in that card, putting these resources on another card to score points off it, but then also trying to put the dates in order, and you're trying to do all this stuff, and it's just one selection. It's, I'll pick one of these cards. That's it. Not a hard choice, but the repercussions of that choice are very interesting, and you get to do some cool things. It's fast. It's, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour, but it feels like a very fulfilling game. Very cool game, Trekking Through History. Number 19 is Fall of the Mountain King. Another game I really enjoy. This is a prequel to Hall of the Mountain King, but it's different, and in my opinion, it's better. First of all, there's the game itself, in which you're putting these cards out in a bit of a display. As you put these cards out, then you use that display to take actions over the course of the game in a really unique way. The game itself is kind of an area control where you're putting your little trolls all over the board. You are trying to bid on getting these cool trolls that give you special powers. All this comes together in just a really neat, entertaining area control thing that I have a lot of fun with. Number 18 is Sniper Elite, the board game. I never played the video game. I'm not a big fan of shooter games normally, But man, Sniper Elite, the board game, it's a one versus all, where one person's a sniper and everyone else is trying to find that person, Scotland Yard style. But this one does it in a really good way, to the point where I think this is my favorite of that genre. Just hunting down that person. I've played both ways. It's really fun to try to figure out where the sniper is. It's really be the sniper. Really cool game. Number 17, Wonderland's War. Yeah, it was such a good year. When this is my number 17, you know that the year was fantastic, because Wonderland's War, a big grandiose game that has two games in it. One is moving around this middle, the ratchet system, where you can move as far as you want forward, but you can't go back on this table, collecting cards that give you upgrades and things. And then the second one, bag pulling and area control. It's basically all my favorite mechanisms thrown into one game with good theme and good components. I like the concept a lot. It's a lot of fun. Wonderland's War. Number 16 is My Father's Work. My Father's Work, this game about being the son or grandson or great-grandson of a mad scientist, or granddaughter of a mad scientist. And this uses an app. There's so many different ways. A really strong theme. It's a long game. And honestly, I think it's best with 2 or 3. But there's so many cool options in the game. It's a simple worker placement, but the theme carries you through as you make choices that affect the future of the game. I like it a lot. That is My Father's Work. Number 15 is Cat in a Box, which is one of the best trick-taking games I've played since, well, The Crew. Cat in a Box is a game in which all the cards are black, but you say what color they are. This is a red 4. This is a blue 3. But as you say that, no one else can play that number and that color again. And then there's a little bit of area control. That's the game. You're trying not to bust by having an unplayable card. It's a neat concept. Like I said, it's very simple in many ways, but it feels like a classic game as soon as it came out. Fantastic game, Cat in a Box. Number 14 is Woodcraft. Woodcraft is a game from Delicious Games, Vladimir Suchi, with the co-designer. They did this game in which you are building things out of wood, and the wood is dice, and you're taking these dice, and you're gluing the dice together, and you're manipulating the dice, and you're picking actions on a wheel, and there's a lot of mechanical things, but I think the theme actually comes out, and there's so many ways to manipulate the dice in this game that I just really had a lot of fun with it. So that's my number 14, Woodcraft. Number 13 is Return to Dark Tower. This reprint from Restoration Games, a giant cooperative game. I was very suspicious because it looked big, it looked complicated. And it is big, but it's not as complicated. You just choose what you're going to do. Then you press a button on the app, it tells you where to throw a skull in the tower or whatever. Things happen, new stuff moves, the monsters move, you fight monsters. I love the combat system. I like the difficulty of the game. It's difficult, but not overly difficult. I like the way the game's theme. I like the stupid sound effects that the tower makes. It just all comes together in a very entertaining fashion. Number 12 is Planet Unknown. Polyomino games, there was almost too many of them, frankly. But now this one feels like it's just a really cool one. As you spin this rondelle in the middle of the table, the spinning Lazy Susan that the game comes with, and then you pick pieces out. Everyone picks them out at the same time. They build them. You move up tracks. You especially want to play this asymmetrical because everyone has different special abilities. As you move up the tracks, you're getting points, or you're able to move these little rovers around to get rid of meteorites. There's just really cool stuff all throughout this. It is one of my favorite polyomino games ever made. So much fun. Planet Unknown. And then number 11, just missing the top 10, is ISS Vanguard. ISS Vanguard from Awakened Realms is such a great story. I mean, you are flying this big spaceship, the Vanguard. You are looking for aliens. You are flying from planet to planet, dropping landing teams on the planet. The landing teams go out and find stuff and come back. And you do all of this. Half of the game is going on a planet, going around, rolling dice, doing things. The other half, the half I enjoy even more, is the ship half, going through the book and upgrading weapon systems and doing things like that. So much fun, and it comes together in a crescendo of maybe a little bit too long, which is probably why it missed the top 10. But so much cool stuff going on. I just have so much fun with it. ISS Vanguard. So there you go. Like I said, those are 10 games that I'd be proud to have as the top 10 of a year. Fortunately, there's 10 other games which you can check out on our top 10 games of the year. Anyway, those are 10 more great games from 2022. I'm Tom Vassell. Thanks for watching.
And we don't have anything at all. Hold on. That's not what I want. Yeah.
Well, that's really annoying. What is going on here? Hold on, the camera might have come unplugged.
We might have got unplugged.
Can you plug the camera in? Why am I back there? That's true. It definitely
Yeah, the audio's coming through, I believe.
This just
No, it wasn't. The audio-
Hey! We're starting our blooper reel early.
This was pre-planned.
Okay. I'm back.
Thanks everybody for watching. We're done almost. We're about to leave the studio. But before we do, and by the way, I know people are going to ask who this is. This is Sharon. She runs Dice Tower East.
Hey everybody! Dice Tower East in July. Come game with us. Gotta plug it.
It's like 2 months away. Don't worry about it.
She's the one strangling Camilla.
That's great. That's fine.
All right, so one last thing before we go. We did a best of / blooper reel. So we're going to watch that now. We had people send those in, and so we randomly picked a winner, and that winner will get a package of random games that we'll send next week.
Oh,
But if you hear your name, email me. When I say next week, I meant 2 weeks from now.
God, I won't be here.
Amanda Pruitt.
Amanda!
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. This has been tiring, but it's a good time. We hope you enjoyed all the top 10 lists and all the gameplays. We want to say thank you to all the different companies who sent us games and things and sponsored this. So we appreciate that. Go check it out again. We're going to post a lot of the videos separately in a week or two, 2 weeks, so you can see the top 10s on their own if you missed them. Of course, we have plenty of videos. I think I just counted up. Something like several thousand videos. No, not 1,000. We post at least 1,000 videos this year that you can watch.
Wow.
How many thousand are we putting up the week we get back, Tom?
400.
Thank you, Mr. Middlestream, for the super chat.
Hey.
Wow.
Wow, awesome.
Coming
All right.
quick.
Fantastic.
So to that end, we're going to end this here. Does anyone else have anything to say?
Thank you, Joey and Alex, for coming along and helping us out.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Well done.
I'd like to nominate me for being here. I was very much here.
Good job, Chris. Thanks for being here.
And Chris put this next video together, so anything about it, you can blame on him. So, all right, well, let's play the blooper reel. Here we go. See you all
Bye,
next
everyone.
week. Bye. Gal of mine.
My girl?
Yes. Next, a lawbreaker with refined mannerisms.
Smooth criminal.
Yes. Jeez. All right. Release it suddenly as if its temperature is really high.
Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Which game designer are you watching out for in 2022? Well, I haven't had any threats made against me, so I'm not really watching out for any of them.
Go ahead, Tom.
That's amore.
That's Amore, the number 2 answer.
Oh my
Hot tea. Hot tea.
We are live, right? What's going on?
Kristen,
Eight.
Jason need to switch.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. What?
No, I don't think we need to.
Oh, we passed 300,000. I did not see it. We should have a thing. I know Kenny didn't see it because Kenny would run in here with an air horn and do something about it. But you know why Kenny won't run in here with an air horn? Because I know exactly where the air horn is, and Kenny don't have it. So, woo!
I texted Kenny trying to get him to get the air horn and couldn't find it.
That's because I know where the air horn is.
He said, I think it's in his office.
It is in my office.
Wendy killed Stitch.
Mohana
Diggs.
means murder.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match.
Baby shark doo 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 doo. I thought I played the worst games of the Dice Tower crew. We're gonna roll the die, and you're gonna put an acorn of that color in his mouth. At some point, he's gonna pop.
Dare I ask, which end pops?
Pressure's on, Camilla. Whoa, what are you doing? You
What?
gotta
I
roll
don't
the
know.
die.
Oh,
Follow the rules!
goes there. Oh, and that's what does the tail. Oh, you have to like push it.
Have you never fed a child? That's how you feed a child. So someone asked what happens if we put
Got
the
it.
marbles in the other end, so.
This is not safer.
These cards are in German on the other side. I love this. You're peddling a revitalizing tonic. Du bietest una Wundermedicin viel.
Oh, those are nice busts. What?
Moving on.
That's a cool statue of a bus.
NSFW.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. She started. She laughed first.
I did start it.
You're being challenged to a duel. Du wurdest zu einem Duell hergeskaffordert.
Here we go. I'm actually gonna do this.
Excuse me.
You know how like some superheroes have the like supersonic scream kind of powers?
Yes, I get it.
You're a superhero. Du bist ein Superheld. I'm gonna get German down in no time, Tom.
You think it's good?
Yeah.
You don't like them?
Those are the worst Tic Tacs I have ever
That's a
had.
bold statement. There are some pretty terrible Tic Tacs
I spit them out. I hate them.
Back in here.
Those are all cute.
This is not a game I would recommend. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell, and you've been watching Bag of Butts on the Dice Tower. Can't believe I said that. Dice Tower Judgment. Hasbro has their hooks in this one, and Hasbro doesn't know how to reprint a game well to save their lives. You cheapskates! Send me my Hero Quest! You still haven't given my Hero Quest! Give me my Hero Quest!
I'm either playing solo or I'm playing with all of my adoring fans. Two-player games are hard for me to get to play. My head exploded. I mean, it was a messy thing. I'm sorry, I had to, you know, get some people in here to clean up the mess. But
Nah, there wasn't much mess.
Dunk it. Come on, dunk it.
That bothers me right there.
Right there.
What's with
the
all that?
entire video.
Look at this.
Never
I
does the
want
milk
this
not
cookie
spill.
fit.
That's someone in the comments said if Dice Tower would dissolve, we would hear about it from Bonacor, and he would somehow tell us it was good for the industry.
Well, I have to say, Bonacor is wrong.
Oh, so far, whatever you're saying, I agree with.
There's Camilla, unfortunately, and one of the great things about coming out to a Dice Tower event is seeing special guests and celebrities like Dan Hughes.
Hello.
Go back to work.
Sorry, Chris.
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say you only have 2 toes.
Good.
Let
him have this one thing.
No!
And it is monsters on board. We love Halloween in
So
our
he is
family.
on
We love it.
board with monsters.
I'm not going to address that.
And for 1 week, it was clean. And then he laid carpet down in the bathroom.
Yes. Let your minds run wild.
Who has a graveyard in their house?
This is basically my dream house.
Just to clarify, your
Yeah.
number 10 for top 10 signs of a good game store is
To have signs. And they only get more meta from here.
Pirates, this is a deck building game. It's also a race game. There's 3 different tracks you're racing down. To win a copy of this, you need to answer the question, how many tracks are there in Extraordinary Adventures Pirates? Throwing the coin, but with special abilities. You have to make it bounce or do different things. If you've ever liked the bar game of tossing quarters, and answer the question, what bar game was Dungeon Party inspired by?
I did it again, Tom.
I did not!
Here I am min-maxing, you know, my scoring opportunities. He's just like, fight, fight. I don't know where he gets it. Fight.
How often do you come by fans daily? I haven't bought one in ages.
Okay, I'm gonna get a video instead. The picture wasn't working. So here we go, it's a video.
My name is Braun. He means how often do you run into fans? My word! I learned my lesson when I was very young. You do not run into a fan.
It is staff that is working / helping, not playing games or hanging out. You kind of said that too, right?
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, that's one's. A third of the page is explaining what pizza is. We got it. I mean,
buckle up, folks. There's a new taste sensation you may not be familiar with.
The question on fans may have been Dice Tower fans, not Air fans. If you think the margins on T-shirts is high, there's no way I'm selling custom Dice Tower fans. It's one of the top 3 favorite foods eat at college and universities. What's the other 2? Ramen and
NSFW. I don't know. This is.
What the?
It was a drug reference. I'm sorry. It was a drug
It's too
reference.
late now. Stop it.
I don't want to speak for you, but I absolutely am going to speak for you.
Oh, okay.
Imagine this is Z Garcia talking. I was very put off by the idea of
Dumb it
this.
down a bit.
Okay, yeah. Me no like game.
You're wrong. 2-1. We've canceled daylight savings time. Today's Monday. Enjoy your long week.
Success.
This show is sponsored by Stupidity. But no, don't put forbidden games up right when I say that.
You didn't watch the video?
Not in this one.
This video was the best video of the week.
It's Boombox Man.
Boombox Man.
Boombox
I'm
Man.
so sorry I didn't watch this.
Wait till Boombox Man holds the vibrate acoustic speaker.
You do know who is the very special guest of honor at the World Series of Board Gaming, don't you, Mr. Vassal?
No, I wouldn't call myself that.
The cat microwave.
The pet dryer for gently drying important pets, not
yeah.
That's garbage pets.
Only the important pets.
I haven't seen that.
All of the important pets step forward. Hold on, Fluffy, back up. You're doomed either way. Anyway, there's another top. Oh no!
You get so caught up, you're like, and you grab a tile.
People have bookshelves and they turn it around backwards, so the books backwards, so that the different colored spines don't mix or mess up with the decorum of their home.
If there are more than 2 or 3 colors that are not complementary, it actually gives me vertigo and I vomit. I can enjoy my meals again. Is all I'm saying. This is a godsend to me, right?
It's neat. It's a fun little point salad-y type thing, and there's even cooks and forks and stuff in it, so you can just break open that bag of croutons, pour it all over your game, and dive in.
I'm Tom Vassal, and we're glad to be here. I want to introduce. All right.
Tend to swirl?
No. Stop! Many people have come on the booth this year and have said, we like your show, and it's really gotten good now that you're not by yourself.
All better.
Do you know how to dress yourself?
My wife is not here. All right. And it's. And you've been watching the Dice Tower. No, I'm still here. I'm in the corner. Now I'm up here. Let's make it small. Now I'm on here twice. Now I'm on here from a different angle. We'll make this one small, though. This guy said this is his whole life. He's put his passion into this, so I gotta be cautious. I don't want to, make him feel like he's thrown that away, but also. Now I'll add another one of these, so that's partially over this one. And we'll do that. Now I'll do this, which is really confusing.
Number 39 is a crossover with someone at this table who is seated directly to my left.
Me.
At the start, it's the where's the intro? Ba 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 ba. A better way to determine the winner would be to take all the components for this game, put them in the box, shake the box for 5 minutes straight, punch a hole in the bottom of the box with your pirate dagger, let one piece fall out, whoever's color it is wins, unless it's no one's color, in which case you all win, but you already all did win because you did that instead of playing the game. All right, folks, thanks so much for
What happened?
for watching. Oh no, that's worse. Let's go through a selection of the cards here. Of Kids Against Maturity, we have Diarrhea Cha-Cha-Cha, Poop Emoji, Poop Spelled Backwards, Diarrhea for Days, Bath Butt Bubbles, Big Butt Jones, Butt Sandwich, Butt Lovers Pizza, Butt Chin, Butt Burp. This is from Eric, but not our Eric. This is Eric with a K, but not where you think.
This looks like a Z game through and through.
Yeah.
This absolutely looks like a Z game.
Butt breath, butt bingo, brain farts, a fart quickly gone wrong, blaming a fart in a dog, fart in a pillow, kindly pass it to someone napping on the couch.
Latest Euro games you would recommend and why? Wrong stream.
Fart in a spacesuit, fart in an elevator, push every button going up, exit waving, fart spray, fart tennis, fart ventriloquist. And there's a lot of cards I can't even read to you because they're not appropriate for kids. Here's the good news. We're finally at the one where everyone's on drugs.
Oh, okay.
So this is a game called Roll to the South Pole.
Dogs! Dogs are great! Yes! Look at that!
We need to go here because this office is falling apart elsewhere. See y'all later.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Now zoom in on the guy who's driving the thing.
You know, I was really annoyed that you were keeping your eye on me and not Daddy the entire time.
You're the closest.
But he was like flipping cards away every 5 seconds. He would have like 5 cards.
My number 12 is a game that requires absolutely zero intelligence. I think you're a big fan of this one, Z.
How is that not like a major red flag?
Because I keep telling you, he just had 8 cards and down to 2.
Ooh, I like this, Mike.
You don't need the word games, actually.
I gave you many heads up saying, did you not just see that?
Okay, let's talk about the game.
Did you like the game?
Yes, a lot.
I know exactly what I want, or I tell him what I want.
What she really
I never want to be disappointed.
She wants a.
No, I'm an adult. In fact, we
Chris,
actually.
this is a family show. It's called It's Bananas. So it's bananas. has units. There's a tail that you put on the back of you that you crouch and pick up rigs with.
Good night, everybody.
This is not gonna work, Chris.
It has before. Why don't you have any faith?
Just take this marble out back and shoot it. Tom.
Who okayed this?
I know! Like, somewhere along the line, someone been like, excuse me.
The monkey tail game.
All right. Hit your mama.
Axe or hatchet? I have two hands, one of each.
This is what we're staring in the face. What I'm staring in the face, especially, is this. It's a cosmic horror.
It's a little disorienting. There's been a crack in the space-time continuum.
You are killing everything!
Yes!
I'll definitely wear this horrendously ugly hoodie if it saves me 12% of the
not.
I think that's very ugly.
You don't think that's ugly, Tom? Never. I take that back.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tom Vassell. Wait, only one of us can be the true Tom Vassell. The other is a very handsome android.
Why is Tom wearing glasses again? Didn't he have laser eye surgery? I'm wearing glasses to be cool.
Flamingos. I hope this is like at the lobster restaurant where you can be like, that one, please.
All right, well, what color should I get? Acid green, lava orange, or Mars red?
I'd say black and red. Get the black schlonk donkey schlonk. What was it?
Oh boy, here we go.
What's next?
Let's go. This is what I figured would happen.
I'm getting this.
If you like it, then you gotta put a donk on it.
Reiner Knizia's game, Tigers and Euphrates, fell into the top 100, making it...
How many people does this game play to, Tom?
8.
How many sheets does each player have?
4.
How many is that, Mr. Math?
See, you didn't say that at the
24
beginning.
sheets on a piece on a table.
32, you
That's
animal.
ridiculous.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Misty.
I'm Vash the Stampede.
All right, I'm sick of Halloween.
Are you gonna die?
Yeah.
I'm not the first one who died in a game and talk?
I think actually everyone is dead because Mike.
I'm dead.
Who's the chicken now, world?
I just want to make... 1, 2...
My number 3 is, I think, something that turns me off. It doesn't make me angry. It just turns me off. And this is memory as a main game mechanism.
Is it because you're getting old?
So here we go. Here we go. Wendy right away comes with the, it's because you're old. That's the easy joke. I get it. Look, I've had a terrible memory my entire life.
Take that, Wendy.
That's right.
And I am a very well-rounded gamer. You better watch your mouth.
Tom tells me that we need to have a discussion on what the word pretty means, but I think the miniatures and the others are very pretty.
Wait 15 minutes before consuming? Not gonna happen.
I'm pining over cake. It's not pie, it's cake.
Do you think Furnace will surprise you again this year?
Problem is,
Where do you stand on cats, Camilla? I don't know.
Where do I
in
stand?
the cat
like
pantheon.
usually on the middle of the cat, or would you prefer like the tail?
If I was going to throw one of these games on the table and then run out of the room and say, have fun, and hope that people survive the experience, it would be the first one.
Also, you put a pipe bomb in it.
Yep, Chris being awkward. Ah! There he goes. All right, retake. This is what is left.
I think the art is very good.
I think the art is pheasant enough.
I will not be choosing a card. Why are you dressed like a magician? No.
I am a mathemagician.
No.
90% of all communication is nonverbal, and so I was doing this.
Find someone who looks at you the way that that bat looks at that orange.
And I think he is a fantastic character. Fits right in.
He looks like what I probably would have looked like in the 80s.
I instantly hated him.
I'm really freaking out about the next one we do.
Because there's a lot of good ones.
Mike, there are way more worse things to be stressed about. Like, what was
I'm freaking out, man!
Pouch potato. Oh, wow. I made it.
Thank you, Chris.
Good stuff. You got potatoes.
Oh!
That's done.
And?
What is this?
Oh, it did not make it go. Yeah. Tray of
I'm so is that his booty on that pink fox?
All right, before I do my number 5, we are now going to jump to Roy Canada.
All right, I do want to say that since I'm behind the scenes, I'm not able to really respond to everybody's stuff as this goes along. But I did take a few notes that I want to do real quick since I know the future and I know everyone else's list. So, Z, you're wrong. Mike is a total hack.
Outrageous.
And of course,
Outrageous.
I'm sure he's saying that's outrageous or something like that.
Empire's Age of
Wearing your
Discovery.
hat. Look, I'm wearing your hat.
Oh,
Take yours off.
your
There you go.
baseball cap.
There you go. Ah! Two things happened to me that had not happened before. First, I saw a table flip in real life.
Fantastic.
And secondly, I was mooned in the middle of the game.
Everybody, clap your hands. That was really weird timing.
What? What am I missing here?
Mike, you are a hack.
If there's ever one way to get me to ignore your comment, it's to put a clap between every letter.
When you speak it, do you say it on the claps,
No,
or do you do
like,
it?
you are a absolute hack. You can dance to it. You can dance to it. Mike has no taste.
And unfortunately, our next project didn't fund because no one wanted to buy a real lightsaber. It's a
Did you read the written challenge?
I did. They're like, we don't want to get sued by Disney.
The storage underneath for the top leaves. Did you hit that? Let me ask someone taller. Sorry. Oh, sorry, that didn't.
Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell. And that's it.
Tell you what.
Oh, we have colored butts. Like we are our own color.
Oh, the white, the no touchy goes in?
No touchy butt.
No
goes in
touchy
the
butt
bag?
goes in.
Hey guys, just got here. Totally psyched for tonight. Can't wait to do something.
It's an 8 for me.
Watch this, Lise. You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half.
And I actually considered going higher than that, but
Now.